part of what I also, I'm sure, and I know you do too, but I'll explain to the customer, there's three basic things. Well, I'm going to say two basic things. We need to show stability.
Yeah.
So that's in the past.
Yeah.
And then we also need to show ability going forward in the future.
Yep.
You show stability. So my old CEO that I worked for 9 years told me this, or taught me this.
Right.
Stability and ability. So the address of where someone lives is showing some sort of stability.
Yes.
They could still move
Yeah.
and lived at different places. It doesn't mean they're not stable, but
Correct.
it does help us start to paint a picture.
Yes.
So do you want to talk about the picture of the big bird's eye view of that?
As far as address history
Or just the big picture, bird's eye view of a customer or of a family that's wanting to get a mortgage. What's the big picture?
The big picture is as far as information I'm getting from them. Is that what you're asking? Yeah. Big picture. So we start with address history, right? And then we move into work history. Work history, I would say, is number one as far as the rules that we have to follow per Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac.
Yeah.
You had mentioned earlier a 2-year work history. Very, very important.
Yeah.
There are so many rules around how long you've been on your job, how many jobs you've had in a 2-year period, what your pay looks like, whether you're hourly or salary, or, roofers, they get a piece rate, things like that. So knowing your income and how you are paid is very, very important.
And what are some of the things that a customer can provide or give their loan officer information-wise to help that process?
Yeah. So I always tell my customer a pay stub, your most recent pay stub at least, and then your W-2 from the prior year. Now, that's just basic. There is more information that we require, but as far as getting the ball rolling, having a pay stub and a W-2 from the last year.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you're right. That is the most important. One of the most important is the job, the work history, because that's where the income's coming in.
Correct.
And to give our audience kind of a backstory of why that is so important is because they're going to lend this money out for a long period of time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and you've taught me this. It's like each transaction that you have, it's almost like thinking about it if it was your own personal funds that you were lending someone, right?
Yeah.
And would you lend someone money
For that long
of a period and that much with this story and this job history and this pay? Yeah. I was also taught that from somebody else as well. Yeah.
I mean, when you're a customer and you're applying for a mortgage, I don't want to scare people away.
Yeah.
But this call is really to really help with that process, make sure that customer is being honest with her, and actually does know their work history. There's many customers over the last 2 years.
Yeah.
They come and we start asking. And they might not remember, and that's okay.
Yep.
It's just this is an important detail that we need to get for that pre-approval process.
Yeah. And I was actually talking to a client yesterday, and she had said that she had talked to multiple different lenders that, she just didn't know with her job history and what was allowed and not allowed. And she said no one had ever told her, one way or the other. And I just really helped educate her on, how long she needed to be on her job and things like that. Yeah. And she really appreciated that.
Yeah.
So that's also a part of, you don't know what you don't know as a buyer, especially a first-time home buyer. I always tell clients that you just don't know. You don't do this every day like we do. Yeah. And we're the ones that are supposed to supply you with the tools in order to take the steps to get there.
And I think a lot of customers or families that come in, they might be scared.
Yeah.
And they might not want to potentially disclose things that they may potentially, think that it's a bad thing if they disclose it.
Yeah.
And do you want to talk about that at all? Or as far as like, what are your thoughts on that? If a customer coming in, they have something that's maybe they had this job that they quit, or maybe they had this job or maybe they had this job gap.
Yeah. We've had clients, that, when we're getting that information from you over the phone and we're looking at your history and you tell me, oh, I've been on my job 3 years. And then we go to do the verification, with your pay stubs and W-2s. And for whatever reason, the income isn't lining up with how long you've been on your job.
Yeah.
And so come to find out from the employer, you had taken 6 months off. Maybe you got hurt on the job or something happened. Totally fine. Yeah. Those are just the things that we need to know.
So what I heard you say is that just tell us because we'll help you.
Yes.
Like we're on that customer's side.
Yeah.
We want to get them the loan.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of customers don't understand that piece of it. That we actually are on their side wanting to help them.
We're all on the same team.
Yeah, but we also know the rules. Right?
Yeah.
We know the rules really good. And so the more honest that customer, from what I'm hearing you say, is the more honest that customer can be about everything as it relates to the application.
Yep.
The better we'll be able to help them.
Yes.
And the better experience they'll be able to have.
Yes.
I've had multiple times in my career where that's happened and we don't find this information out until way farther in on the process. And it's okay because 99% of the time we get it fixed.
Right.
We figure it out and we're able to get it fixed. Like I had a customer, they were moving from Southern California. They were moving up to Redding. And when that happens in that situation, you know this.
Yeah.
But when they're moving, we have to have their job. We have to figure out, okay, are they going to keep their job down there? Or are they going to have a job up here? Or are they going to be able to work remotely? Because it's an 8-hour drive down to Southern California, and they're buying as a primary residence. And so part of my job is to make sure that if they're buying as a primary, will they be able to still have the income?
Right.
Otherwise, if they're moving here as a primary, they're working down there in Southern California, and they might not be able to afford this home if I give them the loan, if we give them the loan. And so this is something that we have to make sure. Well, this particular customer, was not exactly aware that they didn't realize they were not going to keep their job, or sorry, they were keeping their job down there. One of them was keeping their job down there. One of them was moving up here and getting a job up here. We ended up figuring it out, but I didn't have this information, or I wasn't told,